오늘 드디어 아틀란타 조지아의 에디 골반상을 만나러 왔습니다. 여러 번 시도했는데 이제 다른 주로 계속 가시고 뭐 병원 일정이 지금 안 맞아서 못 만났는데 지금은 3번의 시도 끝에 지금 만나게 됩니다. 오케이, 103. 그럼 가볼까요? Hello, sir.
Hello there.
Hello,
Hi.
sir.
Finally.
Good.
Come
on in.
Oh. Rami.
Yeah, Ed.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Which is the best place for you?
I'm gonna sit here.
Okay. First things, we're gonna shoot your portrait.
Okay.
2 portraits. One with this condition, and other things we're gonna write down your name and the
Okay.
helmet.
Okay.
Okay, I'll bring the hammer first. So, and write down your name, big letters, sir.
I was a combat correspondent.
Okay. With you, and okay. I think so, right? Okay. Okay, so you're gonna hold the helmet. We're gonna shoot your portrait. Okay. Let's see. You're gonna wear the shirt.
This was me. But I was also in the Navy.
Uh-huh.
But this is when I was with the Marines.
Yeah.
I did both.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
You can sit, maybe hold like
okay.
this. Yeah. And we're gonna set up the light first, so. But I spent 6 hours with them. And when you talk about his war story, experience in Korea, I never heard about it before.
Because Korea got sandwiched, the war got sandwiched between World War II and the Cold War.
Yes, sir.
And so it just got forgotten.
Mhm.
That's what happened.
But it's years I forgot that. But Korea, well, it's important war, but we didn't learn that much. And when I heard their story, I motivated a lot. What is the freedom? What is the Korean War? When I talk that story to my friend, my people, Korean people, they motivate understand what is the war, what is the freedom. Then I say, okay, let's go one more time. And then I met another veterans. Hey, let's go one more time.
Can I ask you another question?
Yes, sir.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Who's sponsoring this? This has to be expensive.
50% my own, and 50% the Korean people. So we have a non-profit organization in Korea here. So whenever I travel, whenever I show the veteran story, they donate to non-profit organization, and this fund help to keep going this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does he have a uniform?
No. It wouldn't fit him anyway.
Me too.
What did you do in real life?
This one.
This
From 2017.
Oh, really?
All of this. Yeah.
Okay.
Because before too late. Because we want to record his story, but without him, we don't understand. So. Your hand a little bit this way, sir. Follow my hand.
I have pictures South Korean Marines somewhere. This is going out on Parmesan Truce Road.
Oh, okay.
Going on patrol. Is the Papa Son.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, Korean flag.
yeah, there was a Korean frigate
Oh,
that came alongside. That's Seoul.
mm-hmm.
Rice paddy.
Let's see, what about, I want maybe some stuff if you have it. I forgot something. Can I shake your hand? Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
We made a coin. Freedom is not free.
Yeah.
Not like this. Maybe. Yeah, that's good. You can put the color here. Okay, done. Okay, 찍어봅시다. No smile.
No smile.
Okay, thank you for your service. The photo is done, and he's gonna have an interview.
Okay.
My name is Ed Gruber, and I was born July 18th, 1928. I was born in New York, in the Bronx, the borough of the Bronx in New York City. I was a Navy combat correspondent, and my home base was Pearl Harbor, the Pacific Fleet Public Information Office. I was a journalist, third class, petty officer. I was a college student, and I was an athlete, and I was a son and a brother. I dated girls. I was just a normal kid. When I went into the service, they were still drafting young men into the military in the United States. And I didn't want to go into the Army because I had heard some terrible stories about living in foxholes from some of the World War II veterans who came back to New York, neighbors who came back and told about the horrid conditions of living in foxholes, and I didn't want to end up in a foxhole, so I joined the Navy. And I ended up in a foxhole anyway. So when I got into the Navy, because I was a very good typist, and because I had 2 years of college, they made me a clerk of personnel office in California, the Alameda Naval Air Station. One day, I saw a Navy magazine, and it told me about the Navy having a journalism school. And I'd always loved to write, but I never thought about being a writer as a career. But I applied for the school, I went to the school, and that was the beginning of my new life as a writer. And after I got out of the school, they shipped me to Pearl Harbor, to the Navy's Public Information Office, the Pacific Fleet Public Information Office, where I wrote speeches for the admirals, I wrote radio programs, press releases, did interviews like this with sailors, only before TV, it was mostly radio work. And I went on an expedition to Alaska, writing the ship's newsletter, the fleet's newsletter, and I was supposed to write press releases, but the Korean War just started as we were leaving San Diego to go to Point Barrow, Alaska, on a resupply expedition, and so there were no press releases because of now that we're in a war. And when I got back from Alaska to San Francisco, I flew back to Pearl Harbor, and I was also doing a lot of entertaining at the service club as a master of ceremonies, as a singer, and having a lot of fun. June of 1952, I went to Korea. I was only in Korea for a little less than a month, but it's amazing all the things I did while I was there. My job was to write press releases on board different ships that I was on, and to interview sailors and Marines and write hometown stories, which we sent back to their newspapers in the towns where they were born, where they lived. And so I left Japan. I flew in an old TBM Avenger torpedo plane sitting in the gun turret, and we landed on the USS Valley Forge aircraft carrier. And I stayed there for a couple of days. I transferred from the carrier to a tanker, the USS Mispillion, that was refueling the aircraft carrier at sea, and they were going to be taking me up north to Wonsan. On the way up, we'd refuel all different types of ships: Canadian ships, South Korean ships, British ships, Thailand ships came alongside to refuel. After we got word that an American sailor had been wounded on board one of the ships in Wonsan Harbor from the artillery, the communist artillery in Wonsan, and he got wounded. So we had to go up there fast because we had better hospital facilities on the Mispillion than they had on the destroyer. So they transferred him to the Mispillion, and I transferred to the destroyer. And it was the USS Brinkley Bass. And we went into Wonsan Harbor. We had a Korean minesweeper that was clearing the mines in Wonsan Harbor. And the Brinkley Bass was to protect the minesweeper from the artillery on in Wonsan on the beach. Then I transferred from the Brinkley Bass to one of the islands, and was very close to the beach, to Wonsan. And when I got on the island, I met the Marine commanding officer, and he gave me what they call the lay of the land. Told me that we're only a few thousand yards. He says, be careful walking, because the Chinese, if they see us, they'll fire at us from the island, from the beach. And so we're walking around, and the first thing we saw was some South Korean Marines who were guarding Chinese communist prisoners who were digging trenches. And one of the prisoners was moving rather slowly, too slow for the South Korean Marine. So the Marine swung his carbine, a rifle, at the guy's back and broke the stock of his carbine on the communist prisoner's back. For some strange reason, the guy was able to take the punishment, and he sped up his digging. He learned his lesson pretty quick. And so I learned that I figured out I'm in a very strange place. I'm in a war, which I had never been in before. After I saw the prisoners, we were on some high ground, and suddenly we heard this whoosh, and 2 mortar shells hit right near us. So it was the first time I was ever under fire, and it was kind of scary. So when I left the island, I went on to an American LST, a landing craft, but it had a helicopter pad on it, a deck. Then from the LST, I joined another destroyer, the Richardson, and then from there, we headed to the USS Boxer, another aircraft carrier. And then I took off from the aircraft carrier, and we went to Seoul. And from Seoul, I traveled through the city in a Jeep, going up to the MLR, to Munsan. That was very disturbing to see a city as destroyed as Seoul was. I took a lot of pictures of that too. And I remembered how I felt how lucky we were in the United States during World War II, that we didn't suffer that kind of bombing and that kind of damage that they did in Europe and in the Pacific. So it was very sad to see the refugees and the people just trying to survive. So anyway, we get up to the MLR, and it was the 1st Marine Division that I was joining, and I meet this captain, and he asked me the same question, what are you here for? I go, well, I'm here to do hometown stories and to interview the Marines when they come back from patrol. And he said, well, wouldn't it be better if you did it firsthand? And I said, what do you mean firsthand? He says, I've got a patrol going out tonight. He said, why don't you join them? And I wasn't combat trained. I mean, I could fire an M1 rifle, but I wasn't combat trained or combat oriented. But like a jerk, I said, yes, I'll do it. The reason they were sending out this patrol was because the night before, a Marine patrol had been ambushed by some Chinese soldiers. So they gave me a carbine, a helmet, picked up a flak jacket on the way out, some hand grenades, and the sergeant says, well, we're going out to White Hill. He says, some of you guys have been there before. He said, we're going to hope to get to the base of the hill by dark, and then we're going to be very quiet because we don't want the Chinese to know we're there. And he said, and we'll be taking the Parmesan Truce Road out, and then we'll veer off, and we're going to string telephone wire. He says, so if we meet any Chinese, we take care of things quietly. And that was one of the scariest moments of my life. On the way out on the Parmesan Truce Road, I swear I saw a Chinese behind every bush. We didn't meet any, but I swear I saw one behind every bush. Well, we finally get out to the base of the hill, and it's pitch black. It's black, dark. We were checking in on the way out every 15 minutes with our base to let them know where we were and we were safe. We finally get up to the top of the hill, and we're sweating like crazy. But as soon as the sun drops down behind the hill in the Korean mountains, it got cold. Fortunately, I brought along a field jacket, so I was okay. We got up there, and they had trenches and some foxholes, and the boys all took their positions. and the sergeant told me to stay next to him. He says, and if we have any troubles, he says, just throw all your hand grenades. He said. So we get up there and we take our positions, and the sergeant picks up the phone to check back in, and he says, damn it, he says, the line is cut. So he sends a fire team down to see where the line is cut. And they're back in just a few minutes, and they said, Sarge, the line's been cut. It looks like a Chinese soldier was in our group coming up the hill with us, and we didn't know it. That's how black, that's how dark it was. But he said, don't worry, he says, we'll take care of you. And so all night long, we're waiting for the Chinese to attack. And your imagination is your worst enemy. And I imagined all kinds of crazy things. But anyway, they didn't attack. But the first thing in the morning, as soon as the sun started to come up, they threw some mortars at us. And these were close. They almost knocked my helmet off. But we left the hill, we got back to the camp. The sergeant says, Ed, he says, you were great. He says, we'll take you sailors out anytime. And I was very proud of that. And I did go on a number of other patrols, and some of these were nasty. But I don't talk about them, I don't write about them, because there are things I don't want to remember. They were pretty bad. But I'll tell you one thing, the Marines I was with, they were all heroes. They were the greatest group of guys. They were like brothers. And to this day, I still wear my dog tags in honor of my Marines. Oh, I ate a lot of meals with the South Korean Marines, kimchi and rice and even fish heads. It was better than the sea rations we had. I got to like these guys. They were good guys. They were tough fighters. They were being trained by our Marines, but they were already well advanced. We played cards and ate and drank and laughed, even though they didn't speak English and I didn't speak Korean. Generally, the South Koreans I met, I was so proud of how strong they were and how dedicated they were. And now, when you see pictures of the Sea of Seoul, you say, man, it was all worth it. And that's my story. I had an old Kodak Vigilant, a bellows that had a bellows on it. That's what I was using. At that time, we still used the old heavy cameras with slides, but I didn't want to take that with me. So I just took the small Kodak Vigilant. As a journalist at the Navy's journalism school in Great Lakes, Illinois, they also taught us photography. So we were not the greatest photographers, but they taught us how to use different types of cameras and also how to develop film. When I got back to Pearl Harbor in July of 1952, I had lost a lot of weight in the month in Korea because I was always on the run. So first they sent me to the military rest camp on the big island of Hawaii for 10 days to fatten me up. They didn't want to send me home looking like a toothpick. And I left Hawaii in September to go back home.
Did the soldiers have to return their weapons?
You were supposed to, yes. I had to turn in my .45. When I left Korea, I left the carbine behind. That was loaned to me. But the .45 was mine to use, but I had to turn it in because I had signed for it. I probably could have kept it, but I didn't. It was not legal to keep it. Then I stayed in New York for a couple of years. I started working in the advertising business in New York. And then I left New York in 1957 and moved to Detroit, working on automobile advertising. And I stayed there for about 10 years, met my wife there, had my children there. Then I moved to Toronto. I stayed in Toronto for about 10, 15, 20 years, I don't remember. Then moved back to Detroit. After my wife passed away, I moved down to Atlanta to be with my brother. My brother and I are both close. We play golf together 3 times a week. I write. I have 2 books that have been published, and I'm still writing. I'm writing a book on Korea, remembering Korea, the forgotten war. And so I write, I eat, glass of scotch each evening. My brother and I play golf. And just taking life one day at a time. I'm going to be 96 years old in a couple of weeks. And I'm very happy and proud that you guys came to see me. When I was in Pearl Harbor before I came to Korea, I was writing radio programs. And we had a Navy radio program that included little 5-minute dramas about Navy and Marine heroes during World War II and also Korea. And so I was writing those dramas, and we heard that John Wayne was in Hawaii shooting a film. It was a film called Big Jim McLean. It was about an anti-communist film. And so we got him to act in one of my dramas, and I wrote it, I directed it, and he was great to work with. As a matter of fact, that night I was with my date at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, and I bumped into him, and he invited me to his table, so my girlfriend and I spent the evening at having dinner with John Wayne and his friends. Before that, I had another great experience with a famous man named Bob Hope. You've heard of Bob Hope? Famous comedian, but also famous for traveling around the world visiting American soldiers during World War II and Korea. So he came to Hawaii to do one of his radio programs, and I went to interview him for a Navy newscast I was working on when he landed at the Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii. It was so crowded there, and very kindly he said to me, "If you want a good interview, kid, meet me at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel at 3 o'clock today." And I got to interview him and got a good interview. When the interview was over, he said, he says, "I need an actor, a guy who's in the Navy who's an actor, for a little skit I have on my radio show. It's Coast to Coast." And I said, "Try me." So I read the script, I got the job, and I did a radio show. So I was on the radio with Bob Hope. I think this is that picture. He's very famous. He's gone now.
What is the meaning of freedom?
The meaning of freedom. As a free man, I respect all my brothers going back in history who fought for freedom anywhere in the world, not just in the United States, anywhere in the world, because they've given up so much of their young lives. Even if it's just time, they've given up. But they've given up their lives, they've given blood, they've suffered mental issues, they've lost time with their families, their loved ones. So freedom, it's not free. And it's something to be cherished and worked and continually worked for and fought for if you have to. And if you gotta die for it, you gotta die for it. That's what freedom means.
Do you have any advice to younger generation?
Yeah. I'm gonna be 96 years old, and nobody believes my age. I'm really a very lucky old man. I'm active, I'm reasonably good health. So I have some secrets which can apply to young people. The first secret is keep your body active, and I do that through golf. The second is to keep your mind active, and I do that with my writing and my reading. The third secret is to love and be loved, because if you're not loved and you don't love, you're wasting your time on earth. The next is to keep your life simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep your life simple. And the last thing is a tablespoon of honey every morning. Look at me. Not bad for 96 years old. For young people especially, listen. Be a good listener, because there's a lot to learn. You don't know everything. You don't know anything yet. You learn through experience. You learn through listening to people who've been there and done that. Listen and learn, and practice what you learned.
What's the meaning of Navy to you?
The Navy, the United States has the largest Navy in the world right now, the largest aircraft carriers, and the best trained people. But mostly it's a brotherhood. It's guys trusting it's guys who are taught their trade, whether you're a deckhand, a radio man, electronics guy, a combat correspondent. Doesn't matter. Learn your trade, do it well, and protect your brothers, because they're protecting you. And so American Navy is historic. It's never lost a war. You know what? People think we lost the war in Korea. We didn't. We really won that war, because the reason we went to South Korea was to keep South Korea. And so look at it now. South Korea is one of the richest nations in the world. They've developed so beautifully, and their humanities are to be talked about. I loved my 4 years in the Navy. I learned my trade, and I learned that you don't live this life alone. You have to depend on others. They have to depend on you.
Have you ever been to Korea after war?
No, No, I wish I had, but I never did, no. But the other interesting thing is, I meet a lot of Koreans, South Koreans these days, at the golf course, restaurants, wherever, and I wear this hat. They asked me if I fought in Korea, and I said, yes, I did. They thank me. It's very humbling to have a young South Korean understand what we did for them.
Okay, picture time. One, do you want to see first? Over there? Here.
Doesn't matter.
Pick one.
That one first.
Close eye. Open it.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Also, this picture frame is sponsored by Chae Young Bak. Korean people so appreciate your service sacrifice. They donate it.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
And this. Beautiful.
That's great. You guys do nice work. Can I buy you a beer?
Why not? We keep educate young generation who sacrifice, who fight the freedom. So this is a letter from Korea.
Hello, my name is Haeyuk Jun. You are the coolest person in our country. Thank you for fighting to prevent North Korea from invading us. In the past, Seoul was taken over by North Korea, and we had a difficult life, but thanks to you, Seoul has become our country. We will protect it. Oh, that's beautiful.
And last, you fight to my country, so we are to give you our national flag. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Once more, thank you for your service.
Oh,
Everything's done. Cheers.
Kampai?
Konbae. Konbae.
Konbae.
Konbae is definitely
House.
Konbae is
House.
exactly.
This was my wife. She died 2013. That's my daughter. That's my 2 grandsons. No, that's my granddaughter.
A granddaughter.
That's my daughter.
Oh.
And that was a house we had to capture one night. The Chinese set up a radio, advanced radio in there, so we had to capture that one night.
We pretty much like taking picture.
Yeah,
We like a lot.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of pictures.
Nice.
I'll walk out.
내가 될까? 해볼게 되고. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Promise me we're gonna have a lunch. Okay, next time. Okay.
Well, I promise.
Okay.
Be careful.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
again, guys.